All right, let me just set up the stream here. Oh yeah, and we can kind of start on this. Watching some Kung Fu, so I need to practice my ninjutsu or whatever. And here we go. Alrighty. 7 to 11K teaching stream. Here we go. Might play one or two tonight, although it is kind of late, so I might just do one, depending on how long this game actually lasts. Let's see where we are. So I'm just going to go under this time and see if we just play the regular Joseki. Because I'm pretty happy with the regular Joseki, actually. Kick, that's fine. I think I'm going to go with a lower one. Pretty even start so far. Fairly even start so far. Okay, it's not bad. Use the forcing move. Well, it's not really a forcing move, but we'll see. I am actually willing to trade the corner this time because he already has the stone here. Actually, no. It's kind of weird how he pincered that, actually. I'm not really sure what he plans to do here, actually. Because I will trade the corner space to get this one stone in the influence. That's something I will definitely do. I really don't actually get to play like even peaceful games like this. Okay, that's perfectly fine. I am just going to take the corner in this case, though. I will see how he decides to make use of the Moyo up there. That's fine. Okay. That's kind of a really weird, that is a really weird move. Yeah, see, I can just do this. So that doesn't really make much sense. See, he didn't really gain too much from that is the problem. I'm going to ignore that. Play down here instead. I'm still going to ignore that and go over here. So like, this is actually where I start winning because he makes a bunch of moves that I'm just not going to answer to. He basically makes a ton of moves that I'm just not really going to answer to. And that's actually, this is where I actually start winning. I don't think that's a good move. I'd like taking the bottom points probably and letting him get the top. Probably not the best thing in the world, definitely. But I did just get a couple of free moves, so not too bad, I guess. I definitely think this should have been a Hane. 100% think that should have been a Hane. Yeah, that's not a good move. I'm actually thinking about playing the Tengen spot. Really thinking about playing the Tengen spot because this would actually reduce his Moyo by a lot. I already secured this corner territory, so on a territory basis, I'm already ahead. I could invade the corner here, which would actually give him a lot of trouble. So those are the things I'm considering right now. I could just jump here as well. I think I'm going to play the Tengen spot. It's kind of a weird play, but it does actually reduce his Moyo by a lot. Okay, that's fair. I will accept that move. See what he does with this. I feel like I'm just going to do this over and over again. It's not the best move because it does actually help him build, but I'm getting so much territory on the bottom that I'm just gonna roll with it. Yeah, that he needs to like learn how to Hane this. Doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I don't want him to get the sente. I don't want him to attach down here, but that's not really good for him. I can honestly just Tiger's Mouth. That's fair. But the thing is, like, he's given up a lot of territory here, like both this corner and this corner, that if he doesn't get a lot in the middle, he can't actually win. And at this point, what's happening is that he's not going to get much of the center territory. He gave up, like, I'm not going to really bother with that either. I guess I will. I'll play this. It's actually pretty important. That's kind of pointless, honestly. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore that. So instead of doing that, I'm actually going to start getting some territory in the center. I mean, I am kind of weak though. I do have to realize that I am sort of weak here. So let me actually see what I'm going to do here. This is a little bit problematic for me if I go into the fighting. So he could cut those two stones off. So I guess I'm just going to go over here. What do I do here? I think I'm just going to connect. That might have been a mistake, though. Ooh, I think that was definitely a mistake. Yeah, I'm going to have to... kind of a dangerous play for me. It really is. I guess not. Maybe not. A little dangerous, maybe. I don't think it's really that dangerous, though. A little strange, but I don't think it's that dangerous. But these two trades over here definitely hurt him because that was supposed to be kind of like sente. I don't think this trade is actually good for me. Neither is this trade. But he kind of played it wrong, so he gave me the influence in the middle. It's an interesting move. It's quite interesting. Let me see how I should answer this. Because it is problematic for me to, it is a little bit problematic for me, I will have to say. I think that's fine. I think that's the only thing I can actually do. Now that's just strange. That doesn't actually help him at all. You know what? I'm just going to fix this. I actually don't care if he lives in there or not all that much. This is actually more important. You know what? Let's do this first. Actually, you know, let's not. Let me see. Yeah, this is fine. Remember, this isn't an actual eye. Yeah, if he has to do that and damage that, I'm perfectly fine with this. He's basically just given up everything here. Like, he has so many problems down here. I mean, I think this is still dead, but even if it wasn't dead, like, my goal's been accomplished because I would just Atari here and destroy this group, and I have more than enough way more than enough points to win. So like, even if this group was alive, my mission would actually be accomplished because if he cuts here, I can just always Atari and then jump to capture the stone. And basically, like, destroying this territory leaves him with just this, and I'd have this corner, and I would win. It's just about getting more points than the other party. So you don't actually have to kill you don't actually have to kill this to win. You just have to get more points than him. And that's actually there's actually a lot of points here and here. He should have. That's not that big. This is like way bigger. That's really not that big. This is like way, way bigger. He should have like. It's Gote for me to kill him, so he should have fixed this problem down here. Probably should have Atari'd this way, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference.
You have won.
Yep. So I win this one. So let's go back and review this game. Um, let's go back to the beginning. I think the beginning was perfectly fine. The beginning was actually perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the beginning here. He's going to do this, kick, and then do this. He's going to do this. I'm going to do this. So this is perfectly fine. That's an okay move too, as is that. That's I feel like this is okay, but it's kind of strange because it gives me a perfect two-step this way. I feel like you would either just do this or maybe just do this or go somewhere else. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like this is not bad, but it's weird because it gives me a perfect two space leap. And you could, I mean, like, I was half expecting him to actually just trade this corner for the outside. That's kind of like what I was kind of expecting him to do almost. Because if you do this and you let me grab the corner, then realistically, you're not really getting that much out of the invasion. You just have like a semi-weak group now, and you let me get this two-space jump plus the entire corner. So I feel that's kind of weird. So I'm going to jump up here. He's going to do this. That's a big mistake because like there's really not much. I mean, this is the play to go here. And essentially to essentially to connect over here, that's the actual play, but it does make you weaker here. So it's actually not a great trade for black. That's a weird move. Obviously doing that's even weirder because it just lets me capture. So the thing is, like, I know a lot of lower Q players have this like sequencing thing in mind where like if I do this, you have to do this, or like you have to like Hane, or you have to like, do this, or you have to like connect. But realistically, like they don't really think of everything else you could do. They really don't think of everything else you can do, and they don't really ever think of this move. But the Atari is pretty obvious. That's also not a very good move. At this, I mean, like I don't know what you do here actually. I feel like you would either just do this, or you just leave it alone. You could just leave it alone, I suppose, and do something else. But this Atari is not a good move. It forces me to take, and you still have problems. This is also not. This is also. I guess I should have connected. I should have connected actually. But then you get this move for free. I guess like this is kind of a weaker black group, but I don't really like this, so I just took it. That's a bad move because I don't have to answer you. There's nothing really you can do with my group. You don't really threaten it by doing that. So I feel like because this stone is, I don't really know. Like I feel like a lot of lower Qs expect me to connect, but if you really look at the worth of the stone, it's really not worth all that much. You're not threatening this white group. Your group isn't really threatened, and if you take it, it's just a ko. So I'm just gonna go down here, which is another big move. I probably just should have chosen another big move, like playing over here or something. I went down here, which is actually not a great move because you can play something like, I wouldn't play something like this right now because it's damaging to this over here, but I just played this. He takes it, which I'm going to ignore again and just do this. So I feel like I just got two free moves. At this point, you would probably try to disconnect these two groups and attack this one, honestly. I feel like you would disconnect these two groups and try to attack this one. But you do this, and basically I'm just going to take the territory. Now that's a big mistake. I think you pretty much have to do this at this point, and then come up. And this is overall just better. This definitely is just overall just better. So playing this is a pretty big mistake. I should have just played here. This is actually the biggest move. But I actually did this, and that's actually not all that important. It makes his shape a little bit better. So after I did this, he should have actually played here. So here's the thing. This move is pretty key. You took this stone, so if you play here, my group here might actually be pretty weak. Yeah, so that move is actually key right there. So both of us missed it for the longest time, but that move is actually pretty key right there. This is not that crucial of a move. And also the invasion in the corner is fine as well. This is actually not that crucial a move, but him doing this is even worse. Like, the thing is, if I do this, you basically just leave it alone and do this, because you don't need to answer this. Like, the best answer is here, because you're connecting your shape. This doesn't really make any sense, because you still have a weakness here, even if you do that. And realistically, these two stones aren't worth that much. Like, if you have to, I mean, here you would just connect, right? But like, if you have to, if I have some stones out here to connect, you could just do this. And all you're sacrificing is 4 points. So those two stones aren't really even worth that much if you have to sacrifice them, which you wouldn't. So going here loses him a lot of points. The Tengen is a weird move for me. I should have just done this, honestly. But the Tengen is a bit of a weird move. Once I play the Tengen, I'm not quite as afraid of this anymore, because there's a stone up here now. I basically played the Tengen because I wanted to reduce his Moyo over here. It's actually not a horrible move. It's not a horrible move. It's not the best move, but it's not a horrible move. So he's going to play here. I'm going to go under, which is probably wrong. I probably should have just jumped or something. I might have even been able to go under. I didn't really calculate this out right, because I'm kind of afraid what happens if he actually does that. So I played under. He does this. I'm going to go ahead and just take the points. And he makes a mistake here again. This is that. I mean, I will do that. But, you know, like, this, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is just a better move. I mean, you have to seal. You do actually have to seal in sometime along the line, right? So I feel like that's the move. And plus, like, I have this weakness here. So I would have to connect here if I did this, right? So I feel like you kind of have to Hane up. This is a big mistake. I go here, and that's a big mistake as well. Like, here is the same thing. You would probably just do this, or something to attack, like, this stone. This really isn't that important. You're probably thinking, like, I can do this, but you can just give these two stones up. It's not a big deal. The two stones aren't worth all that much. So, because, like, the point of go is not to save all your stones. The point of go is just to get more territory than the guy. So, doing this is actually, like, a big loss for him. Honestly, I shouldn't even bother with this. I shouldn't even bother with this move, because I'm perfectly fine without it. And then I'm going to do this. I don't actually need to do this, but I'm going to do this anyways, just to get a little bit more territory and solidify this. But that does give him a free move, which is bad. So even if I should have probably just done this, because even if you do this, I can just do this. So it's not that big of a deal. So I just like goofed up and playing here. He does that. I'm going to Hane up. Playing here isn't a good idea, by the way, because I do get the free Hane. He does that, which is fine. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to destroy his Moyo. I feel like I'm ahead, so as long as I destroy more of his Moyo, I'm probably better ahead. But realistically, once again, like, I feel like either this move or this move is probably the best move. There's safety moves. I have two heads out here. You really can't attack the stone all that much. So either, like, jumping back here or playing here is the best move. Because, like, I'm starting to form a Moyo here too for points. So you have to think about that. I jump in. He does that. I'm going to block. That's a bad move. And the reason that's a bad move is, like, there's just not much points down here. I'm basically just going to use this to build more Moyo up here. And that's not what you want. Because if you really look at it, there's like 4 or 5 points down here. So this isn't really worth all that much. I'm going to block. I can just also do this, by the ways. and that would be fine, but I'm going to block. He does that, which is a bad move because this move just isn't big enough right now. Even if he does this, he can't like come up and he can't cut like that because I have this Atari. So because of that, like this isn't that worth all that much. So I'm going to take this chance to actually like start solidifying my points over here. If he does this, I'm just going to block. If he does that, then I'm basically probably just going to do this. So I'm solidifying like I'm trying to solidify some points over here is what I'm trying to do. So he does that, attack, do that, go over. I think this is fine. I'm just trying to attack these two stones. Because if he does this, I can always do this. If he lets me come down here, then my mission's already accomplished. Because like, yes, he breaks my territory, but I broke his territory, and I would consider that a more than even trade for myself. So that's why that's powerful. I do this, he does this, which is kind of weird. I go up, he does this, I'm going to connect. Connecting's better than doing this because there is this clamp move, which is kind of annoying. I do this, he does that. I'm obviously going to go on the outside. Maybe I did this wrong. I'm not exactly sure what you're supposed to do. I mean, I could just do this and let him out while basically like connecting myself, but deciding to fight, I do this, he does that. I'm going to cover on the outside. This exchange obviously favors me. That doesn't really make any sense because I feel like this is another mistake that I see SDK players make. If they, like once they Atari or push, they think the other player has to block. That's not true at all. The other player does not have to block. So like when you actually push, you have to keep thinking like, will I take the stone? In this case, obviously I don't take the stone because that really wouldn't make any sense. Or if I just retreat, what's your best option? Because at this point, if I just retreat, you just become weaker and I become stronger. So he takes the stone. I'm going to connect, which makes me even stronger. I was thinking about just doing this actually, but I don't want to sacrifice the bottom. Even though like eating this top right now is much bigger than the bottom, I didn't really want to sacrifice the bottom. So I'm going to connect. He does that, which is bad because it lets me do this. And he has a choice of either like doing this and letting me down. Now you're thinking, what if you just like disconnect here? That's not really the thing because I can just do that. And these stones are dead. So he doesn't actually have that option. So I do this. He blocks the bottom, and which actually lets me charge here. And then doing this, I'm going to auto disconnect. So I'm not going to, and then I'm going to do that. Like every single move he does on the outside and I answer on the outside, that's advantage me because he's just basically trying to make noise, eyes on the inside, and I get like a seal on the outside, which is much better. Now, at this point, I feel like maybe trying to fight is the best way, although I don't think he has enough liberties to actually fight me. But realistically, I just don't really think I don't think this group has a way to live, honestly. He might be able to use something like this and do that, though. I mean, I feel like that might be the best option. And I would try to do something like this. I don't think he can actually connect the outside. I don't really think he can actually connect the outside here. I'm not really sure how this works in there, but there is a way to like sort of get some of these stones out right now. So he does that. I'm going to seal on the outside. He does this. So I have to answer this because otherwise he gets a sente cut here. And that's actually problematic for me. This is very, very problematic for me. So I have to figure out how to block this cut. But if I just do this, now he doesn't have the Atari when he attacks. Now he doesn't actually have the Atari when he pushes. So that doesn't really work for him anymore. So he does this. I'm going to do this. He does that. That's an interesting move. I had a bit of a trouble answering this. I'm going to just charge here. I was wondering, like, so when you're committed to this sequence, you should just do this. You should actually just do this. And if you connect out here, then, I'm going to have some issues here. I don't think there are huge issues for me because I can just kind of do this. And realistically, like, it's not that big of a deal for me. And you really just don't have enough. You could try doing this, by the ways. you'd have to connect down here, and then I would go ahead and do this, and you would be short. You would still be short liberties. In this case, it wouldn't work. So in this case, it actually wouldn't work. But you know, in other cases, you can do like tricky stuff like this. If he connects, you push here, and then you just force the liberties. But since you have two problems here, it doesn't work. You have to connect this right away, and I would just go this way. Or I could even go this way and double Atari, and you'd still be dead. You just don't have enough liberties to fight me in here right now. But that is a trick that you could possibly do in the future if you have more liberties in the center. Right now, it probably wouldn't work. So this is why I just like basically did this way. That's always going to be a bad move, essentially, because like you're making me stronger. I know he's trying to get some eyes in here, but that's just not going to work right now. His shape is too loose. So he does that. I'm going to connect first because essentially I see this is my only weak point. And there's no way he's going to live without damaging this down here a lot. So he does that. I'm going to connect. He does that. I'm going to push first. Because if I don't push first, he could possibly live in here. So he's going to do this. I'm going to keep pushing. He does this. So this is one of the goals. In this fighting, I want to get a sente of this. Because like I said, even if he actually lives, I still win. Because like, let's just say he somehow lives. Like he does this. This isn't alive, by the way. This is still dead. But let's just say this lives, right? I get sente. I'm going to cut here. So this is alive. This is alive. I basically get this. I destroy his territory here. So all the territory he has left is now this. And like my corner here, and the territory I have here is going to be way, way bigger than this and this. So I win anyways. So like basically once he did that move, regardless if he lives or not in there, I win. And you sometimes have to have that mentality when you're trying to kill someone. You have to think, I don't actually have to kill this group to actually win. As long as I get what I want, I can actually win. Because I see a lot of Q players being really, really way over aggressive in their zeal to kill a group, and they didn't actually need to do it. They could actually just win taking advantages from attacking that group. And that's what I'm actually talking about. But of course, like in this case, it doesn't really matter because he's like dead anyways. So I'm going to connect, he does this, and I'm going to do this. I don't think there's a way he could live. Nah, this is just, yeah, there's no way he can actually make two eyes. So that's actually the game right there. So that's actually my review of this game. Remember shapes and which stones are actually worth a lot and which stones aren't. Because like getting early advantages sometimes determines the game. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of like a repincer here. I feel like this pincer is just better because if you force me to jump out, you get like a nice two space leap right there. So I feel like this pincer is not really that great because like in the end, I grab this corner, I get the nice two space leap, and he just gets like a jump out. So I don't think that's good for him. That move obviously is bad. You have to calculate that out. And when I do this, you have to calculate like before you do something like this, you have to like basically calculate like what if I move like any of these moves, because this move obviously is going to be very damaging for him. And I've made that mistake before. Also, like I do think the best move is doing this for me. And he does this, I'm going to come up. I think that's the way it's kind of supposed to be played, but I just went ahead and took the stone. This Atari doesn't really make all that much sense because this Atari, I should have just done this. Remember, like connecting these two groups, because if black separates these two groups, so technically, like without Atari here, should have just done this. This group still isn't really all that strong. I mean, it's sort of settled because I can just do this anytime and live, but this is actually like breaking these two groups apart, and it's still very, very important. This isn't really all that important. So that's not a good move by me. He takes it, but the thing is, like him trading two free moves for me, I feel like even though the AI doesn't like it, overall, like it's still positive in my favor. And here, obviously, since you've taken this is obvious the most obvious move to actually do right now, because now this group is sort of weak. So the thing is, like in the beginning of the game, you do have to look for how you can separate out the opponent's weak groups, because if your opponent has weak groups, regardless if you can kill those weak groups or not, you can attack it and gain advantages. And that's basically how like how you transition from the early game into the mid game a lot of times. You actually look at your opponent's groups and you kind of like gauge where is a weak group for me to attack. if you can actually separate out a weak group, you go ahead and do it, and you try to attack that group for advantages. And you can actually win a lot of the mid game that way. So this is not a good play by me, but realistically, like, this is almost like mandatory. I would actually do this, and then you would come up. So this is obviously a big mistake. This is a big, like, I should have just done this. He can't do anything if I do this. So when I move up, like, remember, like, you don't always have to answer every one of my moves. Sometimes, in fact, for a lot of SDK players, if they just didn't answer a lot of their opponent's moves, they could actually get a big advantage. And that's essentially what I do when I play against a lot of SDKs, because this is going to lose you a lot of points. This is Gote for you, which is really huge right now. And of course, like, me getting the Tengen here basically destroys your shape. Now think about it this way. If he had actually gotten the Tengen, that would be a different game. Or not even the Tengen. If he just flown up here or something, this would be a completely different game, because I can't really do anything here. And if he really had to, he could just give up these 2 stones. And he actually has a much, much better Moyo shape here for territory. So that's why you don't answer that. When I do this, you have to think, like, does it really matter if I don't answer this? And if it doesn't really matter if you don't answer this, you would A, do something like this to separate out this weak group, or B, just, like, you know, kind of like make your own Moyo. And at this point, I would definitely have to do that. So this technically is pretty much a sente move. It makes me have to connect, and then you get another free move, and you can do something like this. And that would actually change the complexion of the game altogether, because, like, you're threatening this. If I do this, then you do this, and you can see, like, how much of this territory is quickly coming together. That's actually how you make this territory. You can't, like, you can't just answer all your opponent's moves, because if you answer all your opponent's moves, then he's going to get all the important moves. And the same thing down here. Obviously, there's some fighting mistakes here. But the thing is, like, when I play, you don't have to answer all the time. And if you can actually figure out which plays to answer and which plays you don't answer, you will become a lot better at this game. Because realistically, like, in the starting games where I just don't automatically fight like a lower SDK player, I basically get all my advantages. I essentially get all my advantages through taking, like, like, sente in a lot of places. And that's kind of what happened in this game is right here. So early game sentes, and, like, knowing how to play the opening and taking sentes in the opening is very, very important. So thanks for watching me. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Hit that like button. It would help me a lot. And I will see you guys on the next stream. Yeah, early game sentes, don't always follow your opponent. All right, I'll see you guys later.